Hello, my name's Galena. I'm the fiancé of Joshua Lee McCollister, who was murdered on July 8th by Deunn Willis and robbed by Danielle Durand. So, gosh, this is going to be a hard one. Regarding the stalking, there were 2 attacks on Josh before this took place. And I was very naive. I thought that these had to be just random. And he told me, no, they're trying to get rid of me. They're trying to make me leave you so you'll be vulnerable. And the situation with my father, it was all working toward coming to a head. It was, we were in the home stretch is what I used to say. And I trusted some of the wrong people. That's the best way to put it. I still didn't think that they would take things this far. So, I think it was the end of December when Josh and I went out to the murder cabin. I needed to do something out there. There's something I needed to see. And I couldn't go alone. And I wanted Josh to be there with me, to keep me safe. There was someone else that was very angry about this. They wanted to be the one there with me. I didn't want him there. The time before I'd been out there, that'd been the first time I'd been out there in decades, and it was one of the worst days of my life. And after it was over, this person, the instigator, was very verbally abusive that evening, called me names, yelled at me in front of somebody else. It was really awful. So I didn't want to go out there with him. I knew that Josh would support me emotionally. He would keep me safe psychologically and physically. And he did. He was perfect. He was the best. He knew how to treat a victim because he'd been one. He was just the best. And this made the instigator really angry. That night, he even left us out there. I mean, he was accidentally late picking us up by the side of the road in Comshy, so it was pitch black, and we were out there just waiting for him to get us for like half hour, an hour in the darkness, which after you go to a serial killer cabin, that's really intimidating. When he did pick us up, he was high, and he drove erratically. It was frightening. I mean, all the way from Comshy to Fort Bragg, he was driving badly, deliberately. And Josh and I went from having to take care of, be in serial killer mode, essentially, to don't drive us off the road, dude. It was awful. It was about 2 weeks after that I was sitting in the living room on the couch that faced away from the door, and I heard Josh burst in the front door. I could hear, like, automatically his breathing was bad, and he was saying over and over, "Don't look at me." And I stood up. When somebody says to you over and over, "Don't look at me," you're going to look at them automatically, the thing about Josh, the way he treated me, no one's ever treated me like that in my life. Like, not when I was 3 years old. Even no one. He treated me like I was delicate and fragile. He treated me like I didn't need to see violence. I shouldn't see violence. He didn't want anything bad. Even bad stories. He didn't want me to be exposed to that stuff. He was very protective of what I saw and what I heard. Because I'd been through enough, that was how he saw it, and he wanted everything in my life to be good from here on out. And that's why he was saying, don't look at me. But I did look. He was covered in blood, like to the top of his hairline, to the bottom of his shirt. The entire shirt was soaked with blood. Like the sleeves were soaked. Everything. He'd been stabbed in the face, and I could see that he'd been stabbed in the face, and the hospital was right across the street, and that's where he was going. I was his medical advocate, so he wanted me to know that when I could get to the hospital to come. I was his family. You know, one person later on who was a witness saw him stumbling, bleeding to the front door, and said something to the effect, if you need to go to the hospital, he said, I need to tell my family. Because that's what I was to him, and that's what he was to me. Before we were ever a couple, that was my family. That was my best friend. That was my family. So they had stabbed him in the face. They had almost taken his nose off. And he told me this was another incident where they were trying to separate me from my bodyguard, essentially. They were trying to find some way to make him leave. Because there were people that had an agenda regarding all the information about my father. They had a goal in mind, and in order to get that goal, they had to control me. And Josh wasn't going to let him do that. And he made it pretty clear that they were going to have to do a lot more than stab him in the face to get him to leave me. He had been friends with the instigator for a long time. So I know that when he told me that this was a hit, that the person who had stabbed him in the face and hit him in the head with a shovel, he didn't even know this person. But he did. It was very clear that this was a hit, that this had been ordered on someone else, someone who didn't want to get directly involved, didn't want to do the wet work themselves. And he said that that person was the instigator, and I didn't believe him because it was just so vicious. I couldn't believe him. I couldn't think that the instigator could take things that far. That's the level of violence we were up against. And it was, about 2 weeks after that the instigator assaulted both of us. And did it in such a way that, again, he figured that Josh would just up and leave me. Especially since Josh and I were not a couple at that point. I honestly didn't think that he knew I was alive like that. And he thought the same thing. Because we're both autistic, we call our friendship for that year the year of mixed signals. I loved Josh the second I heard him say my name. I was in love, just like that fast. And he was in love with me when he saw my photograph 14 years ago. He wasn't going to leave me. Absolutely wouldn't. Not for being stabbed in the face, not for being hit in the face with a crowbar, not for everything that they threw at him. I keep saying, my God, the person that killed him, he had to bring a gun to that fight because that man was tough. He was so tough. And all he cared about was his family. He cared about his woman. He cared about the kids. He was never going to leave us, no matter what they did. But that's how bad it was, the situation. It's not just that there was psychological warfare. There was actual physical warfare too. There were physical attacks. That attack that happened 2 weeks after the stabbing, my back hurt for 3 days. His back hurt for 3 days, because remember, Josh had spinal problems. So it didn't take much to put him in a lot of pain with his spine. That's one of the things that hurts about him being killed, is I know that he suffered so much for those last 6 months of his life, and he did it for me. He did it because he loved me, because he wouldn't leave me. After he died, I found a video that he had shot for me. He was going through the instigator's Facebook friends list. And sure enough, there was the guy that had stabbed him in the face. I hadn't wanted to believe it. I was wrong. You know, the person who did it, the instigator, he just didn't have the nerve to do this kind of crap himself. He set it up. He set up situation and situation and situation so that Josh was gonna wind up either severely hurt or possibly dead, because they have that end goal in mind regarding all the stuff with my dad. And it's not going to happen, folks. It's just not. I would have, met you guys for negotiations before all this. I'd have given you most of what you wanted, just to make you go away. But now that Josh is dead, now that he got killed because of the crap, maybe you are not Deunn Willis, maybe you are not Danielle Durand, but you created scenario after scenario after scenario in which he was more likely to come to harm. And now I'm not going to back down. You won't get a single thing out of me after this. You could have controlled me before. You probably could have. Not now. Absolutely not now. You know, there's only 3 people whose opinions I really care about regarding these videos. I am so thankful for all the thoughts and prayers. There are some people who say kind things in the comment section. I really am grateful to those people. I really am. But there's only 3 people whose opinions really, end of the day, matter. Those 3 opinions are Sandy and Neil, Josh's parents. Anything I can do to make their suffering just a little bit less, and I know that they appreciate these videos. And the other person is Josh himself. Because, as I've said before, I truly have faith. I'm a woman of faith. I believe in God, and I know that Josh sees all these and feels fought for. And so, again, I'm so sorry that I didn't believe him in the beginning. I just didn't think that the instigator would ever do something so fucking horrible. It wasn't that I didn't believe Josh. It's just, I was naive and stupid. But I'm not now. And they're going to be held to account for what they did. Absolutely, they frickin' will be. Maybe the law won't get them, but all Mendocino County is going to know what they did. Court of public opinion is going to get them. That's for damn sure.